What's up, guys? We got a good podcast today. We got Mr. I Will Rise himself. I've been following this guy's journey for about 9 months now. Believe in what he's doing. Believe that he believes what he's doing. I saw that he was in the middle of the woods, manifesting, putting together his thoughts, and putting together his dream. And I had to come meet him. I had to come get a podcast. And here he is today, Mr. Olet himself.
How y'all doing?
Welcome to the Addicted to Success podcast, where we talk about success in all forms: small business, motivation, personal development, inspiration, and overcoming obstacles and adversity like a fucking pro.
So I've been following this man's journey on TikTok for about 8 months now. And I see that his compassion and his dedication to his dreams and goals has just been inspiring. Well, the past week I seen that he had went to the middle of the woods to focus and manifest on all the things that he's had to do. I've spent a weekend with the man. I have seen what it is like to be a full-time TikToker. Let me tell you, between the tripods, the electricity, the everything, he talks to, I've seen people collect from jails. He talks to his followers. People message him for advice. Like, this is not a show, it's almost like a vibe. Like, his life is one of the biggest vibes I've ever been a part of. And let's hear it, man. What's up, man?
So I appreciate you coming, and welcome to the I Will Rise journey. It has in the last few days, it's been amazing having your company, and I'm happy to sit down and be on this podcast, be a part of the Addicted to Success podcast, because I always say you got to fall in love with the process of becoming great.
Exactly. Well, just since I've been here, we've been going live, just really seeing how you live, how you think. Like, it's all like it's a lifestyle. It's and it's rough out here. You know, I mean, with being out in the woods, you don't have all the amenities of home. You're out here, but with all the problems, I've seen the peace. I've seen the silence. I've seen why you came here, to get that back to the rugged beginnings. Where was I when I was at this point? So you can get back in that mindset to write your I Will Rise. And it's been...
Right. So I came to the woods, to touch on that, I came to the woods to write the I Will Rise work booklet. I knew that this year needed to be my year that I structure and get it officially off the ground.
Hey, man, you're doing it. You're definitely an inspiration. And to see the people's lives that you touch, to actually be on this side of the TikTok, not the viewing side, but to see this side of TikTok, and to see how people, they need you. They need you. Like, you help them, people with depression, people, you've got people all over the world that are tuning in. And when I started putting you on my TikTok, on my podcast, like, all your amazing supporters started coming over there and was just loving me because I had something to do with you. That was all. They didn't know nothing about me except the fact that I was around you. And you can't fake that. You cannot fake that. And seeing it just shows you the impact that you're having. So everybody wants the real story. How did you get to this from the beginning, middle, end? What is your plans for the future? They want to hear the stuff that, you don't talk about so much. So let's start from the beginning. What was it like growing up, Mr. I Will Rise? What was your mid-teens like?
You know what? I grew up, and I've hinted on this on my journey, is I grew up with a lot of love, but I was raised by people that were struggling to navigate life themselves. And as I'm older, I can appreciate, my parents so much more. Could they have done better? Of course, but we play the cards we're dealt. My parents loved me, but they were addicted to drugs. They were criminals. They were trying to survive, and they got to a really bad place, which essentially led me to a life of crime. And so I was raised with a mixture of love and being taught to be a criminal.
So do you think that, you saw your parents committing crimes and doing things and having addictions. Do you think that had like a role? Did you like accept that, you know what, maybe I'm just put on this earth to be a not good person? Maybe I come from this, I come from that. I've got to just accept that I'm not supposed to be on a certain level of life. And did that have anything to do with you catching your charge and getting all those prison times?
Well, I think what ends up happening is criminal behavior becomes a normalcy and it's not frowned upon. Like, I remember my mom writing bad checks to get me school clothes, and it wasn't a bad thing. Like, I remember her stealing stuff and then returning it, or telling me to do it, or, you know, breaking into a house, so to speak. Well, it did happen. So the thing is, I don't think I didn't look at it as a negative thing. So I don't think I was like, oh, this is what I'm destined for. It was just normal, and you only do what you know until you're taught something else. So yeah, my childhood did directly affect me committing my crime, which was I got into an altercation and I retaliated, and I went back, scared out of my mind, shot at them, and I ended up catching an aggravated assault, shooting into an occupied dwelling, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. I was a convicted felon because I had already been in trouble. So that charge led me to 15 years minimum mandatory and maximum security prison.
You know, it's so hard to wrap your mind around. At 17 years old, you were looking at all that time and going to maximum security prison. When I was 17 years old, I was just worried about chasing girls and maybe a little work. You know, I mean, I can't even imagine being 17 years old and having to say, okay, I'm fixing to, go spend every bit of my life that I could remember in a maximum security prison with all the predators, manipulators, you know, all of that. It's hard to wrap your head around. So how did you wrap your head around when you were sitting, when that judge banged and said, you got 15 years? How do you accept that? How do you deal? Did you deal? What went on with that?
So I agreed to do the 15 minimum mandatory because I was facing life in prison, and I didn't want to. It's not like something that I took on the chin. I remember my dad came to the county jail whenever they offered me the time, and he said, I want to see you on this side of the glass before I die. And I was crying, and he was crying, and I told him, I can't do this time alone. If you're not gonna stick by me, just let me go up here and just handle this and escape or whatever. And he said, if I got money, you got money. If I can come see you, I will. But if I can't, I can't. And honestly, that gave me the courage to sign it. So I took it, and when I officially signed it, and I remember walking back to the dorm, and people were like, Olet, there ain't no way I could have signed that. I told him, I said, hey, listen, I don't know if I can do the 15 years minimum mandatory, but I know I can't do a life sentence. So at least I got a shot signing this. And I think that was the beginning of my acceptance.
Yeah, and it's almost like, I think it almost defines you and inspires you and pushes you even more. All the times you've talked about, you know, laying in your rack, dreaming about when your freedom, you know, stuff like that. So it's very, I think it's very much a part of you, and it shows, you've shown to yourself that you can show up and show out and get the things done that need to get done, even the worst situation.
Right, at the worst, at the bottom of the bottom. And it got worse as I went on. So I went to prison and realized it was much more to handle than what I even initially thought. And that led me even lower. Even when I thought I was at my lowest, I went lower. I went to prison. I had to fight for my manhood. I was in a riot within 6 months of being incarcerated. So now I'm a teenager locked in a cell 24 hours a day for the next 11 months, stuck in there with predators and trying to survive. So yeah, man, it to be able to build up, to be at my lowest, then go even lower, and then build back up, it does build strength, like you're saying, for sure.
So, when you went into prison, you said within the first 6 months you were in a riot. Talk to me about the process of accepting that you're a criminal or a convict, and then going the wrong way. Instead of saying, I may have this, I'm going to have like the I will rise. You went first the wrong way, and then I want to talk about your wrong journey before you turned it around.
So you know what? I think I just attribute it to survival, and I think that was what led me down. So people in life, we learn tools how to survive. So some of us get tools to survive the wrong way. Some of us are raised to be criminals and use those tools to continue down the wrong path. When I went to prison, I had to be a man. And so I got a knife. It's illegal to have a knife. What does a man represent in prison? If somebody comes at you, you attack them. You survive. You make your own money. So what ended up happening is I went, and my survival was still in full force, and I didn't have tools to survive in a positive way. So I got a knife, I stood up for myself, I hustled, and that continued to lead me down worse and worse path until, eventually, I would say probably until 2011, I was in prison, 9 years. And I started to kind of hit a point where I was like, why can I not go in a good direction? Why do I keep going to lockdown? Why do I have to live my life like this?
So you were almost like checking yourself. You were tired of all doing things your way and the wrong way, and the results that you just steadily kept going. You're younger as a child, getting in trouble. Then you're 17 years old, getting all those years. Now you're in prison. You're still just having more and more consequences. Bad enough you got to do the time, but now you got to do it in solitary. Now you got to do it with all these restrictions and everything. So it almost sounds like you were fed up with your own BS.
Yeah, no, facts, absolutely. I remember asking myself a multitude of times, like, what do you want to do? Like, who do you want to be? And why aren't you going in that direction? So I had to get out of the survival thought process and get more into focusing in the direction that I want to go, and stop trying to just survive, but thrive no matter what my situation is. And that's where I really learned, even when I was doing in lockdown. And I spent years in 24-hour lockdown. I caught outside charges when I was in prison again. So I was in lockdown for years. And what I did in the darkest time is I created a vision of where I wanted to go. And even though I had nothing, my family was going through their own problems. They weren't visiting, they weren't sending money. I still worked off of that vision, and I started to be uber productive. I didn't even see success, uber productive when I had nothing, and I started to be grateful, and I started to walk in the right direction despite having nothing. And I attribute that to the beginning stages of I Will Rise, of going in the right direction.
So you went from Mr. Blade pushing, not going, breaking the rules type guy. You changed the way, you started seeing a little bit of change. It's easy to change out here in the world, but like you're trying to change, and I'm sure there was people in there that didn't like seeing you changing, that didn't understand that you were trying to do better in a bad situation. Like, what were the other inmate population thinking about? Okay, the new Olet coming out, the new Olet,
right. So I will say this. It's not all peaches and cream. Like, life isn't ideal. I was still a criminal. I was still hustling, but I was trying to move in a positive direction. So instead of just breaking the rules and doing all that, I was getting educational courses. So I was taking business courses and applying it to hustling. And I was learning marketing and applying it to hustling. I took a electrical class So I was, it's a process. It's an evolution. So I was still breaking the rules, but because I created a vision of where I want to go, I was mixing in a whole bunch of positivity. I was going to life skill classes and I learned new languages, French, Spanish. I even wrote a book titled Understanding is Everything, a practical guide to self-betterment during those years. I published that in 2014. So it wasn't just an immediate switch. It's a process, and what I always say now is, like I said, you gotta fall in love with that process.
And you've also said, sometimes you've got your north, but sometimes you've got to shift it a little bit. Things happen, life happens. I've seen you adapt. One thing I've noticed about you and hearing your story, like you can adapt to really shitty situations and then make the best of them. Like coming out here in the middle of the woods, schooly life in it, you know what I mean? Like it's been a little rough on me, I'm not gonna lie. But like you just are humble. This is what we're doing. I've got a dream and I'm going to do this. And this is just part of it. And if this is part of getting what I want, this is just what I have to do. And just watching that vibe, that schooly life and the people, it's been really fun. So the night before you're about to get out of prison, the night before, and then the day you get out of prison. Walk me through that. Why you just spent your whole adult life in prison, and then what are you thinking before you're about to get that freedom, and then how does day one out feel?
Right. So I spent most of my teens in prison, all of my 20s, half of my 30s. I feel like I don't even know what freedom is, and honestly, I didn't. So I scared out of my mind. I had a lot of pressure on me. By the grace of God, I met this amazing woman while I was in prison. We started out as pen pals, and whenever I had a cell phone, I met her, and we built this amazing relationship. She was friends with my family. She would go to my family reunions, and she was there with my sister the day I walked out of prison. I walked right into her arms, and I attribute so much of my success to her. I'm just so grateful for her. She was an amazing friend, lover to me. And the first night I got out, I moved directly in. I went from being in maximum security prison, toting a knife, surviving, to potentially being a future husband, a stepdad, moving into a townhouse, facing a bunch of responsibilities, and I think I was scared. But I was excited for what's possible. I still had the vision of I will rise, and I was ready to take on the world.
So I want to touch on this relationship. So you just got out of prison, and you're in this alpha male, kill or be killed mindset, my way or the highway. Even if I'm wrong, I gotta stand by my balls or everything. Like, how did that pan out in your relationship? Did you have to?
It didn't pan out good.
You had to shift the way you were thinking.
No, I don't. I couldn't. And honestly, again, I give thanks to God. I've been in 2 wonderful relationships since I've been out of prison. That was the first one, and I had the best intentions. I thought I was gonna spend the rest of my life with her. I wanted to be the best stepdad. I wanted to be in favor. I wanted to be somebody that he looked up to, her son, and don't get me wrong, I handled business. I ended up figuring out a way to get a job at first, and I was paying bills, and we were together, but I didn't handle conflict well. I was still from prison. I was from a place where, listen, I'm not arguing. We're not arguing. In prison, if you exchange words, you're done talking about it. If you continue to talk about it, it's going to be violence. So getting out and being around somebody you love, in that bickering and trying to work through that bickering I didn't know how to do it. We would get in an argument, no matter how small it is, and I would go sleep downstairs. Like, literally, people now that I've been out a few years, I learned we weren't even arguing. We weren't even debating. I just took something the wrong way, or if she gave me a little attitude, I felt like we're about to go to war. So I just separated myself because I loved her, and I wouldn't talk to. I would just be quiet for days.
Yeah, it's crazy having to get out of that mentality. So you talked about you found work, you're paying bills. How hard was it for you, not only a convicted felon, but a violent convicted felon, someone who had done that much time? How hard was it for you to find a job? And was the job you found, were you even making any money?
So it wasn't easy. I thought it was going to be easy because I was like, oh, I can articulate well. I can go kill the interviews, and I did. I went there, killed the interviews, told them, hey, I know you're looking for this kind of employee. I'm going to fulfill that role, and everything was good. They would give me start dates, and then right after the background check, they would tell me no. So I immediately went right back into survival mode and said, okay, this ain't working. And I just posted on Facebook. This is way before TikTok. I posted on Facebook, hey, I'll walk your dog. I'll mow your grass. I'll clean your toilets. If you're a single woman, I have references. I am a convicted felon, but I'm trying to better my life. And you know, one thing I attribute my success in prison to is people. People are your greatest resource. I say it now. I believed it then. I believe it now. And I took the mentality that led me to success in prison. I brought it to the street, and within 2 days, I had more work than I can handle because of the community. Was I making a bunch of money? No, but I did get a job, and eventually I was able to make a bunch of money doing something else.
So, obviously, when you started making a bunch of money, you gave up on that. Why did you stop with that job? Why are you no longer with that job?
So I was doing like landscaping, cleaning people's toilets, and I ended up going and getting a job at the car lot. And when I went to the car lot, I remember the guy. I tried to buy a car, and when I tried to buy a car, the guy said, I only need a $300 payment. I can't afford anything else. I got a crappy job. And he said, if I can get you a job, would you come work for us? And I was like, man, I can't get a job with you. I just did over 15 years of maximum security prison. I tried to get a job everywhere. And he said, if I can get you an interview, will you come to it? And I said, absolutely. And so the next day he texted me and said, hey, I got you a job. And that was one of the biggest turning points of my life. I went there within 2 days of being there. I hadn't even done one full day of training, and I sold a car. By the second month, I became salesman of the month. I worked there for over a year. I did $88,000, paid out crazy amount of taxes, which was, I learned about the real world and giving up all your money.
Oh, they had taxes in there, just not like that.
Right. So I had a great year that year.
And then, so you're fresh out of prison. You done found a trade that will hire you and give you a chance. You've got success. From where I come from, in a small Mississippi town, $88,000 a year is that you're balling. You're balling. And then what happened? Why are you not there anymore?
So he knows the story. So I quit that. I quit. I didn't just quit though. It's not like I'm just like, oh, I'm quitting. I had started to post on TikTok by now, and I think I had amassed about 180,000 people. And I just, whenever I got the job with the car dealership and started to make some money, I realized, hey man, you're not stuck. And I wanted to share that with people because I realized how difficult it's gonna be for people that are I got family, you know, I know how to hustle. I hustled in prison. Like I got a lot of skills, and I still came out of prison and was like, oh my God. So I cut on the phone early on that year and was like, I'm gonna document this journey. I'm gonna rise. I'm gonna help y'all. I'm gonna take you all the way. And so, like I said, I amassed 180,000 people. And so whenever I made that money, I went to my job and my boss, and I said, hey, listen, I'm the top salesperson. I have the highest customer service satisfaction rating. Can you make me a manager? And he said, no. So
No.
I was like, you know what, man? If you're not gonna let me elevate in this environment, if you're gonna restrict that, this is my mentality then. I was like, well, I'm gonna go chase my dream. I saved up $25,000. I had $25,000 saved up. I said, I'm at entry level position right now. You know what? I can go and I can help people create their best life. I'm gonna document it. I'm gonna travel the country. I always wanted to travel the country anyways. I was tired of working 60 hours a week. So if you're not gonna let me move up in this place, then I'm gonna go and try to create a better situation for myself. And I did have the idea of, if it doesn't work, I can always go back and I can sell cars. So why not chase my dream if I can always fall back to this?
Exactly. And you can tell that by, and then you've given yourself goals and things with your dreams. But one thing I have noticed about you is you are tunnel vision about what are you doing. It's like, Coach, hey, what's up, man? Good morning. We're building I Will Rise. Like it's not even like if you ain't talking about building what I'm trying to do, if you ain't, you're so focused and you believe in it, it's very like inspiring, and it kind of it makes you want to do. But I could also see where it makes some people feel bad about themselves, and you get some haters, and people don't like you. But I think most of the reason why you get haters is because you're so over the top and gonna chase your dreams, and even though you have bad luck, you're still doing it. And I think that makes people feel some type of way about themselves, and they just project it on you.
Well, I'm glad you said it.
It's easier for me to say.
Well, the thing is this, and I did. So I learned in prison at the bottom. I learned how to get myself from the lowest point to a thriving position. I did it in prison. I invested in people. I created a dream of where I wanted to be at. I cultivated this mentality and used tools to get there. So I applied the same thing whenever I got free. I created a vision. What did I want with I Will Rise? And where did I want to take it? And so I worked for a year. I saved up $25,000. I went to my boss, said, hey, can I get a raise? They said no. And I said, well, I'm not going to let that stop me. And I'm going to quit. I'm going to chase my dream. And you know what? I was already struggling with this whole freedom and understanding what freedom even is. Because in prison, I always dreamed of like, oh, when I'm free, I'm going to be able to do whatever I want. And whenever I became free, that's not the case. So there was a learning curve getting out of prison. There was so many learning curves, but I learned about what freedom is. And I did learn you can have freedom out here, but you have to be very mindful of how you spend your money. So the more debt you go in, the less free you are. And I would look around and I would say, damn, these people are in more of a prison than I was in prison.
Exactly.
People bury themselves in debt for really no reason. Being in car sales, I would see people buy cars that honestly can't even afford it and don't even need it. And I think society has this normalcy of just burying themselves in debt, thinking that's living.
So you were able to keep your debt and your bills down, and then you quit your car job. You on the road. I've seen the videos. You not even in the schoolie now. Now the schoolie's nice, but that's not how you started out. Tell them how you started out your first traveling.
I had a Kia Soul. So I had been building my credit. I learned in prison credit was really important. Came out of prison, built my credit. I'm a 700 credit score at the time, not even where I'm at now. But I could get in and out of a car, so I sold my Kia Soul and I bought a third row SUV. Now my intention is I'm gonna build I Will Rise. how am I gonna build I Will Rise? I said, I'm gonna travel the country in an SUV that's gonna gain people's attention. And when I gain their attention, I'm gonna tell them about I Will Rise, and I'm gonna change the world. I believe this. Like, I believe this. And of course, like you said, the haters, they're like, you're living in a car, you're a bum, and all this. But it was a strategy. I had saved up my money. I was investing in stocks. I was learning. I wanted to keep my cost of living, though, as low as I can. And I did that for 7 months until I met another amazing woman, coming back to my father's house and visiting him.
So you met Miss Leone, and everybody has heard and loved Miss Leone.
I love her too. She's amazing.
What I really liked when I started seeing y'all's story, y'all started a reselling business, and I'm big into business and flipping your money and letting your money work for you. So what made you think, and what were the steps and the processes of you starting a reselling business? Why did you even pick reselling? Why didn't you go back to cutting grass? Or what made you do this?
Right. So I was traveling. I was trying to get I Will Rise off the ground. We was doing good. I had a couple speaking events. I was published in a magazine. I had 17 sponsors. I felt like I was seeing some success. I wasn't making a bunch of money, but I was surviving while chasing my dream, and that was important. I went down there to go visit my dad, and I seen him and he was struggling, and then he went to go visit another family member. So while I was down there, my dad's wife died of cancer abruptly, and he was already dealing with a stroke, and he could barely walk and talk, so he was super depressed. The reason why this is relevant is because while I was down there, Leone came into my life and helped me redecorate my dad's house, because when he went through his wife's death, he took everything off the walls. He moved out of the room. He couldn't afford to move, but he couldn't even stand to live in there. And me and Leone decorated the walls. I could just cry thinking, we decorated the walls. We got everything right, and he came back. He loved it. He left everything up, and me and her built this amazing bond. And I told her about my dream, I Will Rise, and she was supportive. And I said, well, if I buy a bus, will you travel with me? And she said, yeah. So we bought a bus and we did a few travels. But I also realized this: if I was going to dedicate my life to her, then I needed to create stability for her. And that's where the reselling business came in, because when I tried to get a job, I was in Florida. I tried to get a job. She already had her own place. I was going to move in, pay half the bills. I couldn't get a job in Florida. That was the place that my crime was committed at. And they were even in car sales. The only jobs I could get were $17 an hour jobs. And I said, if I'm going to work for pennies, then I'm going to build my own business. And I took $500 and I started going to estate sales, buying items, flipping. I went back to the basics of the tools that I learned in prison during my darkest days. I took those tools and I applied it to this society, this world, and we started to see some success. We ended up getting up to $9,000 gross a month.
So you've already got this full-time job. And for all you people that do not think being a full-time TikToker is a full-time job, you are wrong. So you've already got this TikTok career, and then you get into this reselling because you're going to work a little bit of hours and make a maximum amount of money. Is that what happened?
Not really. I just needed to build. I needed to be a good man for somebody that I was willing to commit my life to. And, you know, I'm not going to talk about her, but her own situation, she needed stability for who she is. And I was trying to be as good as possible for her, just as she was doing for me. And that's what a good relationship is built on. So we just kept doing it, buying, reselling. We ended up getting a storage unit. Then we were like, oh man, we're doing some numbers here. We need to get an accountant. Then we went and got an LLC. Then we started to build business credit. Then we got another storage unit, and we were seeing some success, but every relationship isn't easy. Putting business in trying to run a business, be transparent on TikTok, do TikTok, it can cause problems in a relationship, and on top of just what a relationship already is, and relationships aren't easy. So unfortunately, after 15 months of running that business, we separated. She got half, I took my portion, I put it into a storage unit, and I hit the road again.
So you're back to chasing your dream at this time. You went, you did the business thing, you know, you basically shut down a business, and then, you know, your relationship ended, like, and now you're going back on the road. How, man, a relationship ends with me, I want to go lay in the bed for 2 months, you know, like, how are you pushing forward after two major things happened in your life?
Yeah, man, it wasn't easy. You know, like I said, I've been grateful to be with some amazing women, and again, look, going all the way back to prison, you gotta create a vision. That is what keeps you moving forward. So I did cry, but as I cried, I walked forward, and I had to figure out what to do. So I went back to Georgia. I got a loan from American Express to be able to cover my bills over the next, few months. So I took the loan and I moved into the bus. I went to Georgia. I parked in a parking lot, and I went and applied at 5 car dealerships because Florida wouldn't hire me. And I ended up getting a job in Georgia. I ended up working 60 hours a week, sleeping in the parking lot, bathing at the gym, not burying myself in debt. And within 3 months, I made over $22,000, cleared all my debt, and paid the loan back. And then sat down and said, okay, well, you accomplished that goal to get out of debt. What now?
So it's almost like you, even when you have your North Star, the I will rise dream that you're chasing, sometimes you have to veer, get some financial lubrication going, come back, but it's always, at every part of your story, I keep hearing that you got to go do this thing, you got to adapt to this, but then we always just keep coming back to I will rise.
You know what? Let me do this real quick. I want to say this because that's a great point, and people always attack me for quitting these jobs where I'm making good money, quitting my own business. And the thing is this, I've never quit I Will Rise. That is my dream. And I'll settle for B, C, D, but not until I have exhausted everything towards I Will Rise. And I just look at those, even though the car dealership pays great money, or even though reselling paid great money, my dream is to help people and build my own brand, and that's what I'm focused on. And guess what? I quit that car job. When I got out of debt, I quit that car job and went and worked for a nonprofit organization in Virginia as a consulting person to help them build better relationships with the community. They were helping the homeless, people getting out of prison, and I went and worked there after I left the car lot.
So what I loved about that, and when I've been a part of this journey, is you went and did this, and it wasn't for a lot of money. It wasn't like you did all of this for the experience. You know what? I may not make any money, but I will create relationships, and I will learn how a nonprofit works, and that will be more valuable to me than any monetary. So talk to me a little bit about that.
No, that's it. I had no clue that you even knew something like that. So I was getting paid a fraction of what I would make in the car lot. So I make $8,000 a month in the car lot, $10,000 some months. But with this job, I was making $600 a week. And I did it because I felt like it would help me get to where I ultimately want to go. And it's not all about the money for me. Survival is imperative, but you got to give yourself, I want to feel fulfilled when I wake up. I want to, be hungry to have a great life. And I went there to learn, and I went there to gain experience and build relationships. And once I did that, I hate the word quit. I moved on. They offered me a full-time position. I worked in corporate development and funding. I went to the Chamber of Commerce meetings. I went to Gavel Club meetings. I talked to city council members. I went and interacted. And once I seen it, it made me even more hungry to go after I Will Rise. And at the beginning of 2023, after they offered me a full-time position, I said no. And I called my family and I said, I know everybody wants me to go get a career. I'm gonna dedicate the entire year of 2023 to structuring and getting I Will Rise off the ground. I told my family, if it doesn't come to fruition, then I'll go get a career. But for 2023, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, I'll be live. I'll dedicate anything. If I do get a job, don't ask me if it's a career. It's only to get some capital up to reinvest back into I Will Rise.
Well, that way there'll be no regret. At least, even if it doesn't happen, which I know it's going to happen just because your dedication, but at least you'll know that you gave it 100%. There will be no regret. You move on. But man, just watching you, seeing your drive, seeing your blind focused, you're going to do this. So then you leave the nonprofit, and then I seen on your TikToks you went and got another car lot job. So it's almost like you're not scared because you know what you can do. You have got the mentality, you know what, I'm just going to find another job, and no matter where I go, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to be the top salesman. I'm going to do this. And if I'm not making the most amount of money I can make, I'm going to get the most experience I can. So we went back to the car lot. This is the last one. And then what happens there?
Well, the thing is this. Once it's either an opportunity, maybe I change my thought process. Maybe I'm like, hey, I need to capitalize off of the momentum I have going on. So right now, this is where it all leads me to. Right now, we're in February of 2023, right on the verge of being into March. I have told myself the only way I'm gonna be able to get I Will Rise off the ground is if I buckle down, I create a work booklet, and I have something tangible that I can offer people. I don't want to go to rehabs, go to jails, talk to people one-on-one, and tell them my inspirational story without handing them a roadmap with tools that will help them see the same success. So my goal is to buckle down and create it so that I have the best chance at succeeding at my dream. So that's what I'm doing right now. That's whenever you came. That's what's led to this. And you've been out here for 3 days being a part of it. And I have the most amazing following, and they're super supportive. They love me. They believe in it. They believe in it. You see, I said believe in it. They believe in it because I am not I Will Rise. I am a person that believes in the mentality that will help you get from where you are to where you want to be. I just endorse the mentality that has helped me do it, and I just want other people to understand what is that mentality, what are the tools, investing in people. What do you mean be encompassed in gratitude? What do you mean understanding that life is difficult and that's okay? What do you mean you got to fall in love with the process? What do you mean that people are your greatest investment? So I'm out here creating something tangible that will help people understand that.
And you're doing it in such a great way where you're showing them daily, because it's easy. I'm not gonna lie, like when I first saw you, I thought it might have been an act. But when you follow the journey with Olet, you realize it's not an act. We got breakfast with Olet, we got lunch with Olet, we had dinner, like this is what I'm doing. I'm out here about this. What do you mean, Matt? You're not getting no footage of this right now? Like everything, you know, I mean, it's, you have dedicated, and I think that earns the trust. You know, you check in every day, you're doing it, you're not deviating, you know, even with the hate, you're like, you cannot understand this. I understand that you don't understand this, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and I want to show people. And the thing is this, I understand that I went to prison. I understand that there's going to be a lot of doubt. So how do I earn people's trust? What can I do to earn people's trust? Man, when I was making $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month, I posted it. I said, hey man, you're not stuck. Look at this. You know, you don't need no skills for this. Look at this. Hey, you're not imprisoned out here in society. Lower your cost of living. This is what it looks like to lower your cost of living. Hey, you know, invest in people. Take the time to build relationships, even if you're in a better position. You're here, you're seeing me pick up the phone for people that are in prison. You're seeing me take time talking to followers, even though I'm not being compensated, even though I already give everything I have. But that is what gets people to buy into it, and gets people to be invested in it, and gets people to trust it and believe in it. And that's why I do it. My dream isn't to be on a camera 24 hours a day, but it's a process. And if I want to see this succeed, I'm only doing what I know to help it succeed. So that's why I do it.
Well, it's just awesome that you believe in it so much, and that you're willing to do whatever it takes. I'm sure getting from the camera just didn't come natural. You'd come up, but if that's what I got to do what I'm trying to get, I'm going to learn it. If I got to go sell cars over here for a little bit, I'm going to go do it. If I'm going to go paint a schoolie blue and do that, that's what I'm going to, you're going to do whatever it takes, and we'll figure it out. We'll run, we'll figure out our problems. It's just, it's a mentality thing with you. And I think that you've tapped into something, and you're going to really help some people once you focus and get it all together.
Yeah, man, I always say this. I'll do whatever's necessary at the appropriate time. So if I gotta go work or pour concrete or do whatever I'm gonna do it. But I don't want people, don't give up on your dream just because you have to, you know, deviate a little bit. And people will give up really easy. And listen, it is okay that life is difficult. Again, life is difficult, and that's okay. You've built businesses. You have taken on huge responsibilities and not been able to fulfill it at that time and had to readjust. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. You do the same thing I do. You just don't document every millisecond. No.
Yeah, but so before we get close to the end or whatever, like for the people that have never heard or you explained a little bit, like what would be the 1 minute definition of what is I Will Rise? We've heard about it. It's a tool. But what would be your definition? What are you trying to do with I Will Rise?
This is what I'm trying to do, is help people cultivate a mentality that will get them to where they want to go. So I Will Rise is just getting people to understand where they're at in life, where they want to go, and build those bridges. I truly believe people are a lot closer to living their best life than they realize. And society will make us feel like we're so far from that, and it's not fair. And a lot of it has to do with your mentality, being grateful. You can just wake up and go do your life, or you can wake up and say, hey, I'm grateful that I'm here. And guess what? Those little flip of the switches, that will change your entire life.
It's the small changes that you have to implement first, is what I'm saying here, and to get to the bigger changes.
Absolutely.
But it's so hard. But when you're in the middle of your own shit and you don't have someone, it's hard to to take that and realize it. You know, it's hard to accept that, you know, because you've got all your shit, you know.
Right, and I want to say this. So that goes back to prison. What was I able to take away from prison? When I was in prison, I was physically locked up. I couldn't walk out of a cell. It slammed shut there. I couldn't take a shower when I wanted to. I couldn't eat. I couldn't do anything. You know what I did learn? I learned how to control my mind, how to free my mind and put myself in a positive mindset, even when everything around me was horrible. And guess what? Even though I don't have a big house, if you don't think it's valuable to be able to free up your mind, then you know, well, you're just wrong. You're wrong.
You're just
because
wrong. Yeah, Tony Robbins.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tony Robbins says everything is 80% mental and 20% physical. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all about your mind, what you're feeding your mind, how you're training your mind. Your mind is a muscle, you know. Those are all important things to do with what you're talking about.
Well, the thing is this, a testament. Look at all the famous people that are super depressed.
Yeah.
Look at how the hell, there ain't no way that they have all that and they're depressed, and I'm out here bathing every other day, don't even have a place to I gotta go shit in Walmart, and you know, and I'm in a better mentality. This ain't fake. You've been here. I wake up happy. I wake up excited. It ain't because I'm crazy. I don't want to be here. But that doesn't mean I can't be happy while I'm going to the place I want to be at. It doesn't mean I can't experience joy and be grateful even though I don't have everything that I want. And guess what? Unless you learn that, I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how many people love you. Unless you understand that mentally, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah. So we're in the woods. You're manifesting. You're building. I will rise. So what does the next 6 months look like? What are your next? What's a couple small goals and a couple big goals? And what are you doing?
We're at the end. I love it. I'm in the woods. You know, some of the trolls like, you ain't in the woods, there's a Walmart 12 minutes away. But so we're on the beautiful Tennessee River. We're at a place in northern Alabama, 10 minutes from the mountains. I came here to write in the I Will Rise work booklet, recreate the solitude that cultivated the mentality in the first place. After I get this up, I want to start marketing myself to rehabs, one-on-ones, do an online course. That might help me gain some momentum. That might help me bring in some revenue. But at the end of the day, this is how I feel about this whole making money from I Will Rise and what that does. If I create enough value in people's life, and if I can help people the way that I've already helped people, if I can continue to do that, the money's gonna come from it. And I'm not worried about if I make 200,000 versus 5 million. If I can create a good life, and do something that I love to do, man, bro, I'm winning.
All day long. And I just want y'all to know, the man is real. It's not a show. He's the same in front of that phone. Well, actually, he's on the front of the phone more than ever. But, you know, he's not like living this lavish vacation life where he's just hanging out. Like, man, just to watch his routines, he's getting up early. He's texting me 6:30, 7 o'clock. All right, this is what we're gonna do. We gotta get some food in. Well, then he's got his morning live. He's got to wake up. He's got to talk to these people. You know, he's got it. It is a job in itself. I don't care what anybody thinks, and he's 100% genuine. And he is just a vibe. You know, it's a vibe being around him. I've learned a lot. He's kind of showed me a lot. I've showed him some things. Absolutely. You know, just like he was talking about. You know, I Will Rise is people are your biggest assets. Well, he had a lot of assets for me, and then hey. Well, I've learned these things, and I think these things would help you, and I've kind of pointed him in some directions with some distribution on other content. You know, it was really fun coming here, seeing this, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm ready to get back to civilization and normalcy. But thank you for spending your time. Thank you for letting everyone know more of the story. And I will rise.
And you will too. Let's go.